I'm not going to be doing a show car paint job on this engine block, just using some cheap rust reformer. Hopefully it looks a little better and stays that way for a while. So I got just a few more things that I want to grab before I send this thing to the scrapyard. I already grabbed the harness going into the cab. In reality, probably the only thing I need from that is the OBD2 port. But having it all intact is kind of nice in my opinion. I also want the cruise control module and the throttle cable for this should fit the 94's throttle cable, which I will use with the 94 throttle pedal. So the parts truck is parted. I cut it in half because I don't have a big trailer, so see how that goes getting it to the scrapyard. In what appears to be good news for me, I pulled the dually's tank out and it looks like I actually have a baffle in there. So I shouldn't have to buy a fuel tank. Just gotta clean this one out. I think I just gotta move this behemoth. Clearly I've been working in my backyard, which is still a dirt desert, and I have a garage, so I'm hoping this giant fits in there and I can finish grade this yard and get it seeded before winter. So that's where I'm at right now. Well, since I'm going to be using this tank, I guess I'm going to soak it down with degreaser, fill it with water, slosh it around. Hopefully let it dry and it'll be clean while it sits until the rest of the swap is done. So that's what I'm working on now. So the hopefully last thing I gotta pull from the dually, the old engine harness. Most of this is going in the trash, but I gotta keep at least the wiring for the gauges, cruise control, maybe a few other things I'm not thinking of right now. Another wiring harness to strip down to the minimum that's needed. Well, the truck's in the driveway. And now that I'm in a better spot, I'm gonna start by cleaning the engine bay. Just gonna spray it down and hit it with some degreaser. We're gonna pretend that rust isn't there. Otherwise, pretty good for New England. Back at it with the rust reformer. Just gonna try hit anything in here that's rusty looking. Well, that looks a lot cleaner anyway. Well, I've got my somewhat nicely painted engine block. But now, I've got a very filthy engine that needs a serious refresh. I think I had mentioned it has low oil pressure, so hoping that's just the pickup tube O-ring. Gonna do that. Lots of gaskets, lots of cleaning. And the first thing I'm gonna hit, in hopes that I might get some of them without breaking, is PP plaster to soak these exhaust manifold bolts. And then we'll start cleaning the top before I pull the valve covers. Well, it's not too bad inside. Some varnish, but it's not terribly gunked up anyway. It did only have 90,000 miles on it. It just seemed very poorly maintained. Well, hopefully it's still good. dipstick tube out of the way to get that manifold off. And the dipstick wouldn't move, so I needed to pull the oil pan to try and whack at that. And well, now here I am doing the oil pan stuff. So I've got the pickup tube out. Somewhat concerningly, the O-ring seems okay. So that very well might not have been my oil pressure issue. It's pretty grungy. It's definitely a little bit flat, but it's still soft. So, I don't know. Clean this thing up and put a new O-ring on it. I got a pickup tube brace for the pickup tube. If it fits, I'll do that, just as a little added precaution. Clean the inside of the oil pan, seal that back up, and put it back in and get back to what I was doing. So I had to modify the brace quite a bit, as you can see. I guess most of the pickup tubes don't have this little retainer, and instead of cutting up the pickup tube, I cut up the brace. Just a Amazon oil cooler delete for now. An adapter for the 1/8 NPT and the 94 oil pressure sender to get my gauge. Or not winning today. More cheap Amazon stuff. It's got generic engine slider mounts. Leave them loose for setting the engine for now. For the coolant temp gauge, got the 94 temp sensor and a M12 adapter for the back of the LS head. I got the long one, I probably didn't need it, but we'll see. Hopefully this all fits in the truck. 3-wire to hopefully be able to log oil pressure in HP tuners. For some reason, one bank was running way rich and the other one wasn't. It's a little bit concerning. All right, take 2 on the oil cooler block off. It's another Amazon one. Seems to be a little bit better quality. The threads are actually proper 1/8 NPT. That's a good start. So for the evap delete, I may or may not have stole a tab off of the intake here. I'm just gonna try plastic weld that piece in there, and then I'll reinforce that with more JB weld. Now this is probably plenty solid plastic welded, but just for peace of mind, I'm gonna slather some JB weld on it. -6AN fuel adapters. Getting distracted by the fuel system tonight. Well, obviously swapping a 6.5 diesel truck, so the sender doesn't have a pump. A gas fuel sender, and I've got a Walbro 255. And I've got all the parts for both the 255 and the sender, so I'm gonna try and mix and match this stuff to make something work here. So I ended up using the foam that came with the Walbro, the sock that came with the Walbro, just because it's got the right little tab here. Clamp down these clamps, and that should be good. Now, got my Walbro pigtail, but the known issue on these OBS or GMT400 trucks is the fuel pump wiring, especially this, it looks like is way too wimpy for a aftermarket pump. And they'll just burn up. So I gotta come up with a solution for that. And while I'm at the wiring, we've got a 3-wire connector on the gas sender, ground, sender signal, and power. And we only got ground and the sender wire on the diesel. So I'm gonna have to run a whole different connector anyway, since the truck doesn't have the 2-wire female connector in it.
So I'm probably just gonna cut all these. And I'm tempted to just drill a hole and silicone in some 12 gauge or thicker wires to these fuel pump wires. So, gotta figure that out. Got my AN adapters. I've got push lock AN hose in the truck already. Put those on the new sender. Because the factory fuel pump wiring is known to fail with aftermarket pumps, I'm going full overkill, I guess. I got 10 gauge wire. Ignore the fact that I'm using the same color. This is the only 10 gauge I've got. I'm doing 10 gauge on the ground, and now I've got my power wire that I need to solder up and heat shrink. I don't know if I bought the wrong sender or what, but the fuel lines do not fit the same. I'm sure I can figure it out, but... Well, it's in there. It was kind of a disaster. Broke my oil pressure sensor again. A little bit more reading, and it turns out, yes, the long temp sensor adapter does not work, but I found that out the hard way. I also broke the crossover brake line for the front, which it was rusty, so I probably needed to replace it anyway, but that just confirmed it. So the lesson from a noob at engine swaps is have as little on your engine as possible when you install it, which is probably common sense, but here we are. I ended up taking the slider mounts off and then sliding them in once the engine was in place, which was definitely easier. Now I can't get the third bolt that goes under the clamshell in though, so I guess I'll have 3 bolts holding the slider on. Well, I think that's it for this one. The engine's in. Did not go as expected, but, well, I expected to struggle. We got wiring, and I've got hopefully a budget solution for high mount AC to keep my R4 compressor. So
those will be the next couple videos. Yeah, got it 4L80 in the stock location. Engine is much further back than I thought, which leaves tons of room in the bay. The trans, dipstick, fuel lines, wiring is going to be a lot tighter than I thought. But we'll see how that goes when we get there. Excited to kind of be on the building stage instead of the tearing down stage. Saddest thing.